All right, guys. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that I've wondered myself, and I think a lot of people have wondered, is that, when I would watch YouTubers and they would say things like, it's not much different when, like, the feeling of when you're poor than when you're rich. And scaling my brand profitably this time, I've come to realize why they might feel that way, even though I'm not rich yet. I'm still on the come up. But um, I think the reason why people feel that way is because their success is reasonable and understandable to them. Like today, I made a few grand, and a few, maybe like last year, even a few months ago, even. If I made that in a day, I would be losing my wits. I'd be so happy. Um, and obviously I am. I'm super stoked that the brand is doing so good. But it was the initial phase of it scaling where I was like, "Oh man, yeah, this is so good." But I didn't feel that like dopamine hit when like the first few sales and stuff, even though it was unprofitable the first few sales. And I think now, like, once you get to the point where you're getting good money, you've already dealt with so much trauma business wise, like so many ups and downs, that your mental state and like emotional state is so like fried that like you become super stoic. And when you're making a lot of cash, it's like, okay, yeah, I am, but I know why. I know like this is supposed to happen because of how much experience I have, because of how much work I've put into it. And I think people get super psyched about it. The reason why they get super psyched about it is because they haven't truly earned that. Maybe, and that's probably why the first few sales are super exciting to you. I mean, one, you finally learn you can make money online, but two, they weren't truly earned. Like, yeah, you learned how to set up some ads, you learned how to set up a Shopify store, um, but like it seems so easy. Like when you see people online and then you try it yourself, maybe in the next few products you get your first sale. But you've done so little work for that first sale, right? And so that's why, like, the standard for your first sale is super low, right? Anybody can make their first sale. Like, I've heard of people with like autism, or like that have some disorder that make sales on Shopify, or any platform. And the reason why it's so exciting is because it didn't take that much work. And to get to a few $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, $10 million a year or a month, you've had to put so much on the line that it's understandable why you're making that much money. You put in your time. You set aside social events. You set aside so many things that you wanted to go to, but and like obviously other factors come in. You like, even though you did all this, sometimes you still have your bad days. Um, but that just adds on to the reason why you deserve it. The reason people are not so happy with how much money they're making is because their first sale wasn't Let's be honest. It was like it didn't require much work. So they understand why they're making a lot of money. But back then, when they made the first sale, they didn't understand it. They didn't understand like the true metrics, stuff like that. Um, and for me, at the beginning of my e-commerce stages, I spent my the first ever entrepreneurial journey I had lasted like 2 or 3 months, right? I tried making an agency, but at the moment I didn't know that it takes actual work. An agent any To get rich it takes work. But for that mentorship I paid, I think, 1,700, 1,700, because I was working. I was just going to school and working, and then I started to become ambitious and realizing, hey, money is something important. So thankfully, I used my money wisely. Even though I quit that journey, and I will admit I quit that journey. Because I never pursued it again. It was my first step, one of my first steps to making money online. And then, so there's one payment, 1,700. My second payment for a mentorship was 1,500, right? And then the most value I got out of that was actually meeting a mentor, and sometimes I even talk to him to this day. Uh, and then my next mentorship was $5,000. I didn't have that $5,000 to pay him, but I had a card. I had a credit card. And if you want to be successful, you have to look in the future. Like, yeah, I don't have it now, but what are the chances I make this money back if I do invest it? And that's the way I looked at it. I have Bitcoin. I'm low on cash. I had like $3,000 left in my account. And the guy told me, okay, the initial pay is 5,000. And over the phone, I was like, dude, I have it. He was like, it's 5,000 plus ad expenses. I said, dude, I have it. And I said that because of how committed I was to making it work. And then, so that was my third one. So I understand why I'm at the position where I am now, because of how much trial and error I've done over the past 2 years. And it's crazy to think that I'm not even sure if it's been 2 years, but, um, but even though I had mentors, when I got mentors, when I got my first mentors, I thought, oh, this is a path that's gonna make me millions of dollars. It's not gonna be that hard because I have a mentor now. Wrong, wrong. I definitely had not some. I definitely had a lot of bad days, and I, the cortisol levels that I had maybe like 6 months ago, or and more a year ago, were super super high, that a lot of times, like, I would stay up at night just thinking, like, why haven't I made it yet? I've spent so much money on mentors. I've spent so much time making products, testing products, and all this stuff. Why aren't I rich yet? And bottom line, I just didn't have enough information. I didn't know much. But it only takes one mentor to really teach you. Yeah, the first one didn't teach me good. Second one didn't teach me good. Third one, boom. He helped me now. Today was my first like $5,000 day. And so I understand why I'm making it, because so many bad days. But now it's accumulating. Year one, nothing. Year two, nothing. And then year three, boom. We're scaling super fast and, working to do more. And again, it's not surprising to me anymore, because it's not surprising to me it would have been surprising to me if it was a first brand. You know, my first brand failed, and understandingly so, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And if it scaled super fast, my dopamine levels would have been through the roof because I didn't know what I was doing and I wouldn't have earned a bunch of money. And that's why this one that I am actually succeeding in, thank God, I understand why it's happening. But anyway, that's my 2 cents of why I think people um, aren't always, on that dopamine high when they're rich. It's because they understand why they're rich and they worked for it. They deserve it. That's what the word I was looking for. They deserved it. Your first sale, let's be honest, you didn't deserve it. It didn't take that much work. You set up a Shopify store. Maybe you get lucky on an ad. You get lucky on a product. You didn't know about metrics, and then I was the same way. I tested some ads. I remember I think my second product hit. Not hit. It was unprofitable, but I thought it was profitable because I spent $120, made back $120. I was really down like $60, because I didn't take into factor the cost of goods. But that was such a more dopamine high, the first sale. I was, jumping up and down, screaming, and like, yeah, because you don't deserve it. Um, it's like if you're in a job and like the second month of you being there, they're like, "Hey, we want to offer you a manager position. We noticed that you're doing really good." And then you're gonna be like, "Whoa, bro, really? Like, oh my gosh, blah blah blah. Like, oh my gosh, thank you. I've been needing the money, blah blah blah." But if you've been putting the hours in, staying in, coming in early, leaving late, going the extra mile all the time, following up with your boss, uh, just doing everything you can to get that manager position. And let's say you get it in 2 years instead of 2 months. By the time those 2 years are up and they offer you it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, good. I've been waiting for this. This is understandable. So that's why I think that a lot of like rich people, they're not always on that dopamine high. But anyways, that was my 2 cents. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you on the next video.